Well, welcome today. I am Karen Fox, better known as Karen the Connector. I'm a sales and marketing growth strategist, and I am so excited today. I have the privilege of having Stephen Burton here. Let me tell you a little bit about Stephen. He has over 20 years experience in the residential waterproofing industry and has built his business on honesty and integrity. I've known him long enough to know that's totally accurate. Stephen is committed to providing top of the line quality workmanship and product for all your residential waterproofing needs. Honest communication, attention to detail, and the belief that getting it right the first time saves his customers time, money, stress. We want all of those saved, don't we?
Yes,
Okay, Waterproof Solutions Residential is the industry leader in residential waterproofing. Honesty, communication, and complete satisfaction, along with exceptional service at an affordable price, are what we guarantee, or what he guarantees his customers. They provide waterproofing, basement waterproofing, structural and foundation repair, and diagnostics for all your residential needs in the St. Louis and surrounding areas. Welcome today, Stephen Burton. How are you today?
couldn't be better.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Stephen, I want to start at the very beginning. What made you get into such a, what do you want to say, a difficult field?
Crazy.
I mean, let's face it, there is so many components that go into it, and knowing what you're doing, and it's like a doctor, you're diagnosing it. So tell us how you got started.
Yeah, it's a lot like a doctor. You're right. Well, I rented a wet basement. Make me crazy. I'm not kidding. I come back to St. Louis. I'm dragging my butt back because, I went through a divorce. Wasn't real happy. Was really kind of upset. Lost a killer job. Didn't lose it. Just had to walk away from it because I had to leave East Texas. I was a chemical specialist for concrete. And so all of a sudden, I'm in St. Louis and I rent a basement from my buddy in Fenton. And all my artwork was ruined from high school. Everything that I'd ever done that I thought had something I'd managed to carry with me, it all had been ruined. And man, when that happens to you, I felt it. I felt, and in the summertime, a lot of my stuff molded in that basement. I didn't understand why that was happening. So I learned the need for dehumidifiers. I learned the need for waterproofing, and I didn't even understand what it was at the time. I had built parking garages and hospitals and had dealt with water before, but not house. So, wow, what a strange idea. There weren't any basements in Texas, so this was all just kind of a big surprise to me. Now, when I was in the Air Force, I did have a basement when I lived on 515 Dakota Street. How do I remember that address? I have no idea, but I just remember that being cold. So I didn't have any experience at all, and checked around and found out that the industry was kind of wide open. And I went to work for a franchise in '94. So that's how I got in the business. Because I needed to.
You learned by experience, which is the hardest.
Baptized by fire. Yes, ma'am. Baptized by fire. No, but I get it. I know what it feels like to be the homeowner. And I remember I was in my 30s and these guys were treating me like, like I was stupid, and it really aggravated me to no end. So I went and played along, put a concert t-shirt on, might have put a beverage in my hand. I drank at the time, year and a half sober.
Good for you.
But at the time, I thought, I'm going to let this play out. And I got everything from a used car guy to an insurance guy. I had another guy these people weren't from the industry. And I was used to being around chemists and guys that were so interested in concrete that they were geeks like me. I mean, who do you know as a minor in cement and concrete products?
Sure.
Stupid, but what do you do with it? Well, you apply it. So I wound up in that industry because I needed to be. And I also needed a job. I had 4 kids to pay for, and it needed to do well. And our industry does well if you know what you're doing. And you deserve it if you fix the house right. You don't just because you sell it, and you can, though. And I kind of was on that side of the fence also. So.
Well, I know one of your favorite sayings is it's not about being right, it's about getting it right. And I love that. And I know personally, because of working with you, that you definitely have that same philosophy no matter what you're doing. And I think that's what makes you stand out in the industry. So right now, with everything going on, what would you say are the biggest issues or things that you're facing right now?
You know, we are an essential business. So we're learning, what does that mean? How do I, as a leader, as a father, as a grandfather, as a friend, as a neighbor, how do I handle this? Especially as a man, where we're steel to steel. So it's like, all right, we had to change how people come in our front door. We change what materials are left or not left in the house. We change how we get in and out of the house. We change how we communicate with our clients. We already were paperless. We were already, I set the company up years ago to be Fortune 50 right out of the gate. So we've done everything from the best insurance to the best, all that stuff just because you're supposed to. So we were already very, very touch-free if we needed to be. So, we're being aware. We're listening to our leaders. We're doing what we're told, exactly what we're told. If we're supposed to listen to Nero, I think we should be listening to anyone at this point, aren't we, right? So I'm just saying, we're doing what we're supposed to do, but we've been blessed in the sense that we've been able to work hard and been able to help some other folks that haven't been able to do so well. So
That's awesome. And I know I'm going to give you kudos here, because I know every year you do your annual Feed My People drive. And I know that had to be put on hold because of this. So for those listening to this, stay tuned. I know you'll bring it back probably in the fall, or just keep watching. You'll see that.
yeah,
But so you're very much community minded and very active in the community. Tell me what people can do right now if they run into an issue with their foundation. I know since you're essential, tell me what they need to do.
if you have an immediate problem and somebody can't get right out to your house, the first thing I'd say is, if your gutters are the issue and you can kind of tell that, go buy some black pipe that's solid and get it out and away from the house. You would be shocked at how many times that stops a reoccurring flood that happens when these rains come real bad. The other thing I'd say is, go outside if you've tied your downspouts together. And guys, I had one of my best buddies. I just went to his house yesterday. Somebody in the industry, in the sense that he's in the residential world and commercial world. He builds things, he fixes things. Us guys were like, downspouts, French drains. It's not a big deal, right? It's a big deal. It can flood your house. And I'm telling you, I saw two very beautiful flooded houses yesterday because they tied the downspouts together. What happens is, it's like pouring gas out of a gas can. You don't pop that little vent on the back so the gas can pour out. So this thing, not only when it all hit, the landscaping was bad. Top 3 reasons: landscaping, pitch of concrete at the house, and gutters. Tied the gutters together. Landscaping's right at it. Crawl space got consumed. Basement got consumed. Thousands of dollars in damage. So I couldn't be more adamant about saying, it's usually something. What is your why? Try and figure out what your why is. And when you call in, if it's urgent, make it plain that it is. But if it's not, say, this is something that I've been dealing with for a while. May I have a space, that's out, an appropriate time away. It just kind of makes us to where we can chase after the issues at hand. But I think timing is the biggest issue of my industry, and making enough time for it.
Okay, so if I'm correct, you're working on a book. Is that correct?
I am. It's
Can you
called
tell us?
Hitting Back, a survival guide to waterproofing and foundation repair in the St. Louis area. And the reason I'm doing it is there's a lot of people that are in the know that don't always agree on what needs to be done. And that could, because they don't know enough about the client. They don't know enough about the bigger picture. They may not know enough about what's going on in today's repair world. And so to be able to first identify what's right or wrong or like or don't like, we have to first know what they mean. So, terms and having some technical way to go, what is a tieback? What is a pier?
he keeps talking about lateral movement. What does he mean, tensile strength? What is epoxy injection? Street creep? They blasted next to my house and it cracked my house. There are so many little coin phrases that if somebody could just look up crawl space, French drain, PVC, black pipe, pump, outside pump, inside pump, we're going to have a very good place for you to have a black and white look at what these terms mean. Then from there, we'll go deep. If you want to know more about what one of these things, how they work or shouldn't work, or when it should or shouldn't be used. I think.
So is this all for education? Is is this what it's being created for?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, how much do you have to have? At the end of the day, if you can't replicate what you're doing, if it's worthy, and I want to bring it out to the legalists. Everybody's going to come after this thing. Good. It'll help it get better. I want it. I want to get smashed in the chin. I got a strong chin. Come at me. It'll only get better. If somebody gets too upset by the book, maybe they need to read it the most. I used to say, if you don't like what I'm having to say, folks, don't let the door hit you in the way. Took us on the way out, and I didn't used to say took us. But they're probably the ones that need to sit still the most and pay attention, because at the end of the day, we are just trying to get this right, not be right. So if there's something wrong with this, let's fix it. Don't say it 3 times louder and think it's going to get in because of that. I'll cut you at the knees and let you bleed out. But know what you're talking about. Bring something to the table so that we can add value to someone's experience in trying to buy or sell a house. To try and inspect it. A lot of these inspectors are just, they can't be experts in everything.
Sure.
And there's a whole discussion, who you trust as a master. Who do you bring into your tribe? Who do you allow to dictate how you're going to run in areas that you're not good at? That's why you work for me. That's why you do what you do for me. It's because I need somebody good at what they do. Really good. Not kind of good. Not getting started. God bless them. That's what they say to you in the South whenever you're kind of messing up. Bless your heart. Every time. Okay, so you don't need that. We need pros. But when you trust someone, or you set all of your chips on something and you're all in, you got to have the guts to be able to pull the hand and say, that wasn't the right place for me to be in. We find ourselves following sometimes the wrong leader, and that's okay. Set that down and move on. So having leaders that we can follow, having people that we can trust, finding the answers to questions. If anything, this book will provoke conversation.
Very good.
Good. Make a decision that's based on something that's more than emotion, more than a propaganda tool to sell a certain tool or type. Many times, I do my Subway jam where I'm like, folks, if you knew me for making sandwiches and I was really good at it, and you came to my house on the weekends, I could just rattle it out and do everything. And then suddenly I try and take this on the road, but I can't, because the truck breaks down and nobody shows up. And so my financial advisor says, hey, McFly, you can only buy a Subway now. Now, folks, I love me some Subway, but my Jewish friend walks in and I can't make him a Reuben because I don't have rye bread. What kind of sandwich maker am I? Now, if you're a foundation guy and you have one peer, really, one way to help lateral movement get stabilized, one way to glue a wall, or maybe you put plastic up. Yeah, that happens. This needs to be talked about so that people can understand what the ramifications are of what they're about to do. More so, let's know why we're doing it instead of what we're doing. A lot of times we're chasing the symptom, right? I got a runny nose, I'm going to Kleenex, we're going to wipe the nose, we throw it away. Maybe we take it to the point we take a little medicine. Why don't we go after why we got the cold? So go after the source. Is it water? Is it drought? Is it an addition? Is it the neighbor's yard? Is it the pool? What is it? Why now? Finding these things out are going to get us there as fast as anything. So that's really what it all wraps up to. That's in a nutshell.
So would I be fair to say you're more like the foundation broker because you can choose any materials from any location, any vendor?
I think at the end of the day, isn't that what's important? Every house has had its own situation happen to it. Was the why? Maybe it was builder oriented in the sense that the builder wasn't necessarily bad, but he was in the same mode of operation that everybody else was. And that age of that foundation now is getting to the point where this is happening. Like there's certain neighborhoods in this town that it's inherent that you're going to have certain things happen to make the house bad. No, it just is what it is. You know, the stigmatism towards a house being repaired, if it's repaired right, and it's repaired right and the why's taken away, the house is actually stronger than it was before. And I like to tell people this when they have a water issue in their basement a lot of times. You know, we build swimming pools better. We have liners in swimming pools. A cold joint is when you pour concrete on concrete. So you've got this concrete footing, then you pour a concrete wall, then we come back and we pour a concrete floor. Well, there's 3 chances for a leak right there before we even get started on the rest of it. So adding a system to a house is kind of like me growing up in St. Anne saying, well, we had an air conditioning problem. No, we didn't have air conditioning. There's a difference in having a system and not having a system. So if you don't have a drainage system in your house, a lot of times it's a very good idea to have one. It doesn't mean the whole basement has to have one. It doesn't mean it has to even have drain tiles. Sometimes a sump in the corner, because of the situation of the house, is enough. Every house is different. So you really shouldn't be tied down to one anything. You should be able to buy everything. I always tell people about the patented process. If it's that good, it'd be in the Granger catalog. It wouldn't just be one dude in town. Hey, I got this.
Right. Well, I know in the past, the thing I love most is that you're honest with them. If they don't need to do anything, you tell them they don't need to do anything. If there's a fix that's less and it's not going to cost them as much, that's what you're going to tell them. You're upfront with them. And that's one of the things I think that makes you just stand out among any industry. Now tell me, is it best for them when they're buying a house to have you come in and do an inspection before they do anything else? How would that work?
Yeah, what happens, it's a great question. There's a 10 to 15 day window that happens when you're buying a house. So if you've experienced foundation issues in the past or water issues, and you know that that's a big thing for you, it doesn't hurt if there's not, you know, a real press on the house time-wise to maybe have an inspection done by me. We do a walk and talk, or we can do something that's written that will kind of give a game plan as to what needs to be done. But this gives you a very good working plan as to what you may or may not want to do with that house moving forward. You may have to get engineering involved. We may have to get a permit. We may have to do some things that might end up taking a little bit more time than you'd have in that normal inspection process. So it's always smart to have the most valuable part of that house. It's the hardest part to visualize. Have somebody look at it that knows what they're looking at.
Okay, can you look at it even if it's a finished basement?
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's one of the biggest keys I talk to about to the inspectors, is making sure there should be a little of that foundation sticking out of the ground. If not, we're going to need to dig and see it. First off, if there's not, that's conducive conditions for termites. It also could rot out the sill board, which is the wood on top of your foundation. So there would be our first conversation. First problem. Second problem might be, all right, so we dig it down. Let's say the house is a rectangle. You know, at the end of the day, if the walls are moving, you're going to have breaks at the 8 inches at the wall's thickness. So you go right to the corners and you start looking. Now you're going to see if you have lateral movement. And if something's gaping at the top and starts to narrow down, it's falling down and away. So there are lots of things. You can also tell when something's been worked on too much. When you see this whole area, like they should not have come back and added cement there and added, why was that done? It's like when I go in a house and I see too much drywall work being done in the closet. I'm like, why were they in here sanding? So forensics is everything. Forensics, forensics, forensics. For every action is a reaction, you know? So you're kind of looking around for why they do that. 7-year-old nature towards the whole thing. And then you get to the bottom of what has happened, and then you make a plan based on what's happening and what may happen based on the age of the house. So.
Very good. Thank you so much. And I do know that you offer financing. Is that correct?
We do. It's available. I hope that folks can have that handled in the sense that it's not zillions of dollars. Sometimes the house can be broken a little more than others, but at the end of the day, it's certainly worth it, because if you don't take care of the foundation, you really have nothing, to build on. So
Very good. Well, Stephen, as we wrap this up, is there anything else you'd like our audience to know about Waterproof Solutions, or you, or foundation issues?
well, I think at the end of the day, Waterproof Solutions is doing nothing but trying to serve the public the best they can, and we're going to try and duplicate ourselves. So there'll be an opportunity for companies and individuals to be trained by us. I've gotten to a point to where I actually have to be careful who I can only go so many places. So we're about to be able to serve the public in a bigger way. We want the book to come out first. Let's enjoy that moment in the sun. Remember, life's a journey. I don't want to run too fast. I've kind of done that in the past before, and it hurt me. So I'm enjoying now. I would tell everybody else to enjoy now. Love your families. Love your God. Do your best.
Okay, well, one last thing, if you will give information of how they can contact you at Waterproof Solutions, that would be awesome.
www.waterproofsolutionsstl.com.
That's 2 S's, kid, STL.com.
Or you can call me on my cell phone, 636-236-9933. Yeah, it's like that.
Well, Stephen, it's been awesome being on here with you. I wish you the best, and thank you so much for taking time for our audience today to explain all of this.
If somebody wants to sit and listen to some foundation repair stuff, I'm the guy to talk to them. Thanks.
Thank you so much.